What's going on, bikers? For my next motorcycle mod update today, I'm going to be installing these motorcycle electric heating sleeves. So I've been wanting to have heated grips for a while on my bike, and to save the expense of installing a whole heated grip system and getting rid of the grips that I have that I actually really like, and also having to remove the actual throttle sleeve, I looked up on Amazon and I found this set of handle sleeves that actually go over your existing grips that can be removed on and off as you need them, and will actually heat them up and heat up your hands while you're riding. So let's take these out of the box and see what we've got. Okay, so there's a sleeve, a wiring harness, and sleeve, and then what else we got in here? Looks like the button and the 3M tape and all that stuff. So the most important part to look at really is the sleeve itself. And you can see that this is actually really thin. It's, gosh, maybe a couple sheets of paper thick. So that's actually really cool. So when you put your hand on it like this, it's actually going around your grip. You just put this around and it looks like it just Velcros. Yep. So we just have some Velcro there. This wraps around your grip like this. You Velcro it down, and then you just grab on like that, and then this heats up. So it comes on and off really easily, which I like, so I don't have to worry about like having these wires dangling or anything like that. Makes it very modular. And I thought this would have been thicker, and I'm glad that it's not, because you don't want the grip around your handlebar to be so thick that you can't get a good grip around it. Sometimes if you have bigger grips or 1-inch handlebars as opposed to like the 7/8, if you don't have big hands, it can be hard to get your hand around the bar. And luckily these things are pretty small. So the way that it looks like it sets up is there's a plug here that plugs into the harness. Looks like there, one for each grip. And then I believe this just wires right up either to a constant or to a auxiliary switch that you might have, maybe like with the headlight or something like that. So it's only on when the bike is on itself, which I might do. And then here's the button that you would actually use to turn it on. And inside of the package, got some zip ties. Yeah, and it looks like this is the mount that you would either put on your handlebar or somewhere on your bars, where then you would stick the button to for easy access to turn the grips on and off. Cool. All right, so it seems pretty simple. So the next step will be going over to the bike and looking at where we want to set up our wiring to get it all set up. Okay, so I'm going to be installing the heated grips on my Street Triple, and it shouldn't be too overly difficult. I've got the wiring harness here. Now what I'm going to need to do is figure out where I'm going to be putting the on-off switch, which I'm thinking I'm going to put right here, and then the wires are going to need to go and follow the existing cables that I have under the tank and then toward the battery. And what they give you is they give you this connection that is a constant connection with these two connectors here. I might try to figure out a way to connect this so that way it's only when the ignition is on is when the grips will be on, but we'll see what happens. And then the plugs here go to each end, to each grip, and then they plug in. And so then the grips just wrap around here and they can come on and off. So the first things first is to figure out where I'm going to be mounting this, and then I can start bundling the wire and run it underneath the tank. Okay, so figuring out where to mount this. They give you a mount, a little metal bracket here, that allows you to stick the switch right to it, which is cool. And I think this is usually supposed to be put on some sort of screw area, and I think that this will work really well actually on my old mirror mount, which is right here. Now, I don't have a bolt that fits in there right now because it's a pretty big hole, so I'm just going to drop in this bolt to kind of hold it in place for the time being. Then I'm going to grab the 3M side of the switch, peel that off, and then I'm going to stick the switch right on the bracket. I'll hold that tight, and that's where the switch will be mounted. So I'm on the back side here, and I'm going to pull these cables through the front. And the other cables I have here are the wires coming from the ignition. I've got the brake cable, and I'm gonna have it just follow those. And then I'm actually going to refeed the main wire, the power wire, through the front of the forks, not to get tangled up with the plug for the grips themselves. I'm just gonna hang that out of the way for a second. I'm gonna pull this one through, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some of the zip ties that they supplied to zip tie this to this cable here, and then feed it down with the cables that go in and into the motor and under the tank toward the battery. And I'm gonna run it with those guys down that way. So that's what I'm gonna do next. All right, so I've got the wires all strung through here and zip tied up following the cables. I even ran the cables that go up to the plugs right here underneath where the grips will be. And then I've got the other one here on the throttle side, you can see, just in enough position so that when the throttle is turned, there's enough slack that it won't pull tight. So I wanted to make sure that that was close enough, but not so close that this is also in the way. And everything has been buttoned up with the zip tie, so I'm going to go through now and just clip those. There was some extra wire, so I had to double it up down in here to try to hide it away a little bit, but it's pretty clean. You know, you've got the extra wire here, but you know, for the most part, it doesn't look like it's out of place or has anything more than it's supposed to when it's stock. So I'm going to clip those up, and then I'm going to lift the tank up and then see what I can do about running power. All right, so in an effort of trying to figure out where I'm going to run the wire, I noticed that there's not enough length to even get this to the battery if I wanted to. So what I did is I went ahead and clipped off the two clips off the end. I'm going to run to the hardware store, get some additional wire that I can splice together to run the length to connect to the battery, probably with some of those hoops to go around the battery terminal. What's nice is this does have a fuse, so we could pull the fuse out when not using the grips, so that way they aren't discharging the battery at all. So I think I'm going to try that first. I'll probably also get some splicing clips in case I want to try to tie the headlight in some way. But I'm going to run to the hardware store now, get the electrical parts I need and that bolt to get the thing mounted up, and then we'll come back and get all this routed through. So I've got the wiring now all hooked up. What I had to do was just pull this through. I cut these, added a couple of couplers here. You can kind of see they're fat. And then ran new wire. And unfortunately, all they had at the hardware store was blue. So I've got two blue connectors, but I colored the end of this one black with a Sharpie, so I know that that is the negative one, and then connected it all up. I've got the fuse pulled out right now, and now I'm going to move on to putting the actual grip pads on and see if I can get this thing to heat up. Putting the grips on is actually super easy. So they actually just wrap around the actual grip, and then they just Velcro together. Now I already tried to fit these on and it was like really tight. If these were like a ½ inch bigger, it would be perfect, but I'm gonna be able to get them around at least this side and see how it goes. So let's get this put on. Kind of stretch it so I can get the Velcro to grip. Cool, all right. And then I'm gonna plug it in underneath. There, and the grip is in place. All right, so both of the grip pads are installed, and you turn it on like so, and that's heating up. And I can actually feel it already starting to get warm, which is super awesome. And it's got 3 modes. This is the hottest, that's middle, and that's the lightest. And that's even still warm. And then you just turn it off by going like that. And on this one, you can see here's the top of the wire. I made sure there's enough slack so when I'm throttling that it's not actually tugging on any of the wire that I put through on the harness. So we'll call the heated grip pads complete.